Right, NVIDIA and other chip giants dominate the artificial intelligence space, but there's more than one way to play the AI trade. We're taking a deeper dive into investment opportunities beyond the semiconductor space with the Yahoo Finance Playbook. And joining me now is Zeno Mercer, head of robotics and AI research at TMX Verify. Zeno, we said we're going to talk about other stuff. Let's start, though, with NVIDIA and what we saw from OpenAI today. We were joking earlier on in the program. I kind of catch myself when I'm announcing the news. It's 100 billion, right? Like I want to say 100 million, but I guess that's where we're at now. I'm just curious how you think about those zeros. Let's just start there. The scale that we're seeing and the way the market digests news that we're going to see a $100 billion investment, stock goes up 4%.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It's their money being invested there. So that's kind of funny that we're seeing this a bit circular AI data center economy. But as a reminder, this comes off the heels of a couple of weeks ago, the OpenAI Oracle announced $300 billion deal, which I, among many others, was a bit skeptical of the financing of. So it seems like there might be some in-house partnership engineering to make it happen. Maybe in a way similar to how Microsoft was financing and partnering with OpenAI earlier on. We're starting to see, obviously, these things branch out. NVIDIA is facing some headwinds in China, so they're looking for other kind of growth spurt opportunities. That's another thing that's been in focus for us as well. But obviously, this isn't just 100. If let's just assume this $100 billion goes through and they invest, they're not the only people. Like, it's not $100 billion going back to NVIDIA. There are a lot of partners involved that will get upside not only from this NVIDIA partnership, but all the other AI big data center developments that are happening around the globe, including with competitor products from AMD, even Google TPUs, and all those other build outs. So again, there's a lot of players involved in these various ecosystems.
You know, it feels like we're kind of talking, let's say, like the heavy industry part of the AI cycle, right? It's big data centers, it's a lot of chips, but you're thinking about things like robotics, automation, which kind of feel to me, the more I think about it, more I read about it, like that feels like where AI is going to make a larger impact on my life in 5 or 10 years than how many chips are in a data center in Utah or whatever it is. Like, what are those opportunities like, and what are companies, maybe some opportunities you see in those spaces, that robotics, that automation area that is part of the AI trade, but I think just doesn't have the buzz the way some of these mega cap chip-related names do?
Yeah, I think it's a great way to look at it, and it's how we've looked at it for a long time. As you know, we were behind the world's first robotics index and ETF that was launched in 2013. So we've always kind of had an eye and focus to that physical automation. And if you look at a similar parallel story of like the silicon build out that we're seeing now, robotics, and let's call it the edge and inference of AI, its nexus and polymorphism into the real world, we see a different and more broad-stroked set of players involved. So you obviously have power involved. So you have companies like Infineon and others that are helping, not just help with power utilization in data centers, but at the edge and robots, drones, whatever form factor that appears. You not only have sensor compute limitations and power compute limitations, but form factors. So companies that help get the max value, and that involves like energy, form factor, and quality, that's really going to be the table stakes for developing that next frontier. And obviously, robotic simulations are accelerating rapidly to enhance these capabilities. So, going from sim to real, which is how the industry phrases it, involves having the right hardware and software stack. So you kind of get both of that, like that physical automation and digital automation within robo and think strategies. But again, with Ambarella, for example, at one point traded at $200 per share. It's at $85 per share. It's starting to get that inference and edge economy uptick. They got a pretty big partnership with Insta360 for 360-degree camera footage. But if you start to think about like, okay, what are the next bigger growth factors? It really is that edge intelligence, and it really hasn't been priced in the same way. And these companies are smaller market caps too, so they have more room to grow. And at a certain point, there's only so much money the economy can afford to invest in a specific area. We're kind of in this like game theory, power dynamics theory, data center build out. But where does that trickle into? And eventually we'll see more and more of that compute happening on the edge with smaller models and autonomy. But let's not forget that it will be tethered to the cloud. So connectivity is also a big consideration here. And so names like Cloudflare, Qualcomm, and MediaTek are all very important to that more, we'll call it even longer duration maybe even a bigger opportunity in these data centers. Maybe data center is the biggest investment of the next 2-3 years, but we'll start to see these other areas really take off. And I think earnings season, for example, really started to show more excitement about this, especially we had seen several years of a downturn for the robotics industry, which might surprise many people listening here today.
Yeah, it's interesting just looking at that Ambarella stock chart. It's like, oh, there's still COVID overhangs out there. Stock's still down from where it was the end of 2021. Quickly, you mentioned hardware, so it made me think of Meta, what we saw from them last week. And I'm just curious how you think about let's say the way they're like combining their previous, metaverse AR ambitions, combining it now, tethering it to what they want to do in AI, and making that all part of one story, and both the technical side of it and then what they hope to be a large consumer side in the end.
Yeah, look, I was never that excited by metaverse as pure metaverse, like virtual reality. It's like most of our lives and really should be in the real world. So I've always been excited about things that can enhance our daily living. Their latest Meta display and neural bands are a step towards that. The SDK is currently limited to their ecosystem. So I think that's something that needs to happen. But long story short, for those that missed it or haven't really known much, they now have these glasses that have a little display that's pretty seamless, high quality display that's there, and you have a wristband that comes with it that you can now control. So you're eliminating the keyboard, the mouse, and my thought is eventually they'll open up the SDK to partners to do things like control things around your home, like replace remotes. And so what you're really looking at is something I've been calling for a while, like the post-smartphone economy, but we've been stuck with our little comfort bricks for a long time now, and we really can move past that. And again, that requires, you look back to Google Glasses, which I had a pair of 10 years ago as like a little demo. I actually wanted at an event, but we've really been hardware constrained and software constrained, and both of those are improving to the point where you can do local and cloud compute and the connectivity on a device and a form factor that is comfortable for a human, not just a robot. But the two have a lot of parallelisms in terms of how they're both combining at the same time to provide real-time, let's call it sense, analyze, and act capabilities. And that's kind of one of the mottos of the robotics industry, is what kind of defines a robot. So again, we are becoming a little bit more cyborg, but also getting kind of like Fantasia-like powers. Now, I don't even have a Facebook right now, so somebody like me, I need to see it connected to other things. But again, there's an entire hardware and software stack of winners that go from the companies helping Taiwan Semiconductor make these chips on the inference side and the edge compute side for a Meta, but also the connectivity and sensors and up and downstream there. So again, really excited about all these different areas coming together, especially as we head to 2026. And I think we're starting to see that pull through in the strategies too.
Yeah, agree. I'm tired of having a phone, but the only solution, I guess, is going to be more technology someday. All right, Zeno, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much.